While viable explanation currently escapes scientists, I think it's safe to say no one should ever touch this book unless they want to make a deal with the devil. And only a week after that, the rapper was involved in a car crash. Some called it bad luck, others claimed it was a curse. Just 2 months prior, Post had come into contact with the Dybbuk box. Widely circulated on the internet as the world's most haunted object.
Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. My name is Utikas if you are new. And yeah, without wasting any time, let's get to the video.
The Devil's Bible. Its official name is the Codex Gigas, Latin for giant book. A fitting name as it is one massive manuscript at 36 inches long, 20 inches wide, and 8.7 inches thick. It's composed of 310 pages of vellum, aka dried animal skin. The Codex Gigas is said to have taken the skin of 160 donkeys to be made. But I feel sorrier for the librarian who had to carry this book around, as it weighs a staggering 165 pounds. If the librarian was 5 foot 10 inches tall, then they'd likely balance the Codex Gigas on the scales. Nevertheless, the most cursed aspect of this medieval book is what lurks on page 290. There, in meticulous detail, is a portrait that spans the entire page of the devil themselves. It contrasts against a page opposite that depicts the kingdom of heaven, with the two pages symbolizing the battle between good and evil. However, creepily, the devil's portrait page is a darker shade than the rest of the book. And that's because vellum reacts to ultraviolet light and tans. A darker page means one frequently exposed to the light. So, for more than 300 years, people have been looking at the devil more than any other page. That's a morbid curiosity if ever there was one. Now, this book is thought to be the work of one scribe, Herman the Recluse. Legend claims this wayward monk was condemned to be buried alive in the monastery walls. But in exchange for his life, he promised the abbot he would write a book encapsulating all human knowledge in just one night. An impossible task, as scientists have estimated that the amount of writing contained in the codex would have taken one man 5 years of writing 6 hours a day for 6 days a week to complete. And that's not taking into account a monk's strict schedule, which takes time for daily prayers, chores, and meals. Meaning it's unfeasible that a monk could have completed this book in less than 20 years. However, throughout the entire manuscript, the handwriting remains eerily the same. The curves and strokes of handwriting naturally changes with age, mood, and illness. Imagine if you started handwriting an essay today and kept writing it for 20 years. Your handwriting would be unrecognizable by the end, as would your hand. And yet, despite the science, throughout the devil's book, Herman's handwriting is creepily the same, as if he had written it all in one night. The legend describes that Herman sold his soul to the devil in exchange for completing the Codex Gigas. While viable explanation currently escapes scientists, I think it's safe to say no one should ever touch this book unless they want to make a deal with the devil.
I've done a video about this book before, and there are very many speculations or theories as to how it came to be. Some people say it was written by a giant because of its size, and others say it was written by the devil, as like stated in the video. But we don't really know like how it was made. Even now, with all our technology, there's no way of finding out, and it's just really interesting to see. I'd like to see it one day myself. It's just something that we are still yet to understand and it's just amazing to me that we still don't know like what it's all about. But what do you think? I think it could have been just written in 20 years, and then some people made what I call it, a superstition around it, that it was written by the devil or something like that. But that wouldn't explain why the handwriting is the same all throughout the book. But I think there's really no way of ever finding out.
Rappers defright. For hip-hop star Post Malone, 2018 was a truly terrible year. In August, his private jet crash-landed on the runway. A few days later, his old home was invaded by armed thieves. And only a week after that, the rapper was involved in a car crash. Some called it bad luck. Others claimed it was a curse. Just 2 months prior, Post had come into contact with the Dybbuk box. Widely circulated on the internet as the world's most haunted object, this old wine cabinet is reportedly inhabited by a Dybbuk, a twisted, cruel spirit from Jewish mythology. To contain the spirit, the Shema, a prayer considered to be one of the most important in Judaism, is carved into the wood on the back of the box. The box itself first came to the world's attention in 2003, when furniture dealer Kevin Manis put the occult wine cabinet up for sale on eBay. In the lengthy description beneath the haunted object, he described that he had bought the box from the granddaughter of a recently deceased Jewish refugee who had escaped German-occupied Poland. Following this, the internet became fascinated with the potentially possessed cabinet. Not even science was able to explain the string of misfortunes Kevin claimed befell anyone who owned the box. Except we need to talk about Kevin. Kevin Manis also has a background in advertising and a keen passion for fiction writing. When pushed about this in an interview in 2021, Kevin came clean and admitted the Dybbuk box was a total hoax. The creepy backstory and reported hauntings were all Kevin's own work of horror fiction. At least this is one supposedly cursed object scientists can sit back and relax about, as it's a total fake. So it would seem Post Malone's awful 2018 was just one seriously unlucky year. Well, that is, aside from the record-breaking 5-times platinum album he released that year, I guess the universe has to keep things balanced somehow, right?
I think it's still impressive that the guy was able to fool a lot of people, basically con a great number of people into thinking that there was any significance to the box. And a lot of people bought into that, and it was a whole thing when it came out. And it's just funny how people would just believe anything nowadays. People are just bored and just want something interesting, some bit of excitement. That's how we humans are, and I don't think that's ever going to change. But I think it's fake. Well, as mentioned, it is fake, but he still made a lot of money selling it, and we even got a lot of fame. Probably improved his business a lot, but fake.
World's deadliest selfie. On April 26, 1986, plant operators were conducting a routine maintenance check on Reactor 4 in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. They were planning to test the electrical systems and turned off vital cooling systems to keep them from interfering with the test, going against the safety regulations. This led to a catastrophic power surge, and Reactor 4 exploded. The core went into meltdown. It was so hot, the nuclear reactor itself literally began to burn through the floor. Plant workers rushed to shut the reactor down, as it began to hurl chunks of radioactive metal into the atmosphere. Meanwhile, citizens of nearby Pripyat had to be evacuated. But it wasn't until an emergency crew returned some 6 months after the explosion that they discovered the most dangerous piece of waste in the world. The crew had managed to gain access to a steam corridor underneath Reactor 4. When they entered, their Geiger counters started to loudly crackle, warning them not to approach a huge mass at the end of the corridor. Using a rigged-up remote camera, they measured the mass to be 6.5 feet wide, which meant it weighed at least 100 tons. It was also emitting 10,000 Roentgens per hour, the same radioactive exposure as more than 4.5 million chest X-rays. Standing next to it for just 2 minutes would expose you to a lethal amount of radiation. It was named the Elephant's Foot, a fitting name to describe the cracked, wrinkly appearance of the corium sludge. Corium is a lava-like material, the result of when the reactor began to burn through the concrete floor, and consists of melted graphite control rods, nuclear fuel, and molten concrete. To reach its location, this radioactive sludge burned through at least 6.6 feet of reinforced concrete, and a decade later, it was still lethal to be around. But one nuclear inspector known as Artur Korneyev has been trying to conquer the elephant's foot ever since it was first discovered. He's returned numerous times to photograph the beast, despite the radioactive danger. The most famous photo of the elephant's foot is Arthur's very own slow shutter speed selfie. You can see his moving figure in the frame right here. However, the grainy texture of the photograph isn't some spooky filter. Rather, it's the effect of the radiation warping the film itself. And if that's the effect on film, you can only imagine the impact on Arthur's DNA. But unbelievably, Arthur is still alive. The elephant's foot is a truly cursed item, with one touch of this radioactive waste pile guaranteed to warp your DNA enough to send you straight to the hospital. Forget scientists, I'm afraid of this thing.
I wonder what happened to those people. I think it was a big issue when it happened. People were saying that there were a lot of people affected by the radiation and all of that, but which wasn't true mostly, because everyone evacuated. But yeah, and the guy who went to take the photos is very daring. Now, I don't think that I could have been able to do that or ever would think of doing something like that. But to each their own, I guess.
Hollywood haunting. Hollywood rarely resembles real life. In fact, most based on a true story movies are totally overblown works of fiction. Although, when it comes to the Conjuring franchise, it turns out the real-life story is a lot more frightening than the movie's many jump scares. Believe it or not, the horror movie Annabelle is based on the story of a real-life demon doll. The real Raggedy Ann doll was gifted to a young nurse named Donna in 1970. Though when the doll was in her home, it appeared to move on its own. The doll kept being found in different locations from where it was placed. Shortly after, it was reported that Donna's boyfriend received a set of red claw marks on his chest mysteriously in the night. Following this, famed demonologists Elizabeth and Ed Warren were consulted on the case. The Warrens concluded that the doll's ability to seemingly teleport, as well as the mark of the beast upon Donna's boyfriend's chest, were clear signs of a demonic possession. The Warrens locked the doll inside a specially made glass cabinet and regularly recited the Lord's Prayer to contain the demon. Certainly a sinister story. Although the skeptics amongst you may already be questioning how much of it is true. After all, demonology can hardly be classified as a science. And then again, no scientists have been brave enough to take the Annabelle doll into a lab for testing. Mars attack.
Yeah, I did hear of the story of surrounding the doll They even made a movie out of it. I think a lot of people have seen it. It was pretty popular, but don't know if ghosts exist. I don't think I believe in them really, or demons or all that stuff. But you never know. Maybe it was real and it was haunted. But we only have eyewitness accounts as to what happened, and those are not really reliable most of the time. Like anyone can lie, it's really easy to fake. But yeah, there's no way of really finding out whether it's true or not without people studying it, and it hasn't happened till now.
See this vial? Can you guess what's in it? Around 4 years ago, viral internet rumors spread that scientists feared this substance more than any other. Reportedly, coming into contact with as little as 0.02 grams of it was enough to cause instant death. So what's so deadly that it's been stored in a vial and sealed in an airtight cube of plastic? Poison gas? Super acid? The ultimate hot sauce? Well, actually, it's 0.02 grams of the Zagami meteorite, a tiny fragment of the largest Martian meteorite ever to land on Earth. And as for the rumors of this being the deadliest substance on Earth, well, that's another internet lie. There's nothing deadly about touching this meteorite, unless of course you're touched by the one that's coming at you from outer space at a staggering 44 miles per second. Well, when they're not on course to turn your head into a pancake, on average, meteorites are less radioactive than typical Earth rocks. So, looks like scientists will happily handle this object for a change. But if you'd like to see what substances truly are deadly in quantities smaller than 0.02 grams, check out my video on the topic. That'll really give you something to be scared about. What do you think was the most cursed object? And what would you be the most afraid to touch? Let me know down in the comments below, and thanks for watching.
I doubt any of those were scary, but they were all definitely unique and interesting, especially the big book, or the devil's book, that even scientists today don't understand how it came to be. So yeah, I'd say for the most part they're all just interesting and fun, and some urban what is it called, it's an urban legend. Yeah, but anyway, thank you for watching if you made it this far, and I'll see you amazing people in the next video.